And I look forward to having a rich conversation on this panel.
We promise our viewers just that. Stephen Ojong is the publisher of the Median newspaper. Welcome.
It's always a pleasure to be on Press Hour. I'm happy to be back after a while.
Yes, you've come to stay, Stephen. We have Roland Akon. He's a journalist, Vision Card. Welcome to the program, Roland.
Thank you very much, Keelan, for inviting me. I'm happy to be here this morning.
And the CRTV's editorialist, Dewi Lambi, is here with us when you see him on the set. I know you are waiting for what he's going to say. Dewi, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, we're going to introduce somebody who is going to intervene in the second part of the program. We'll just let you know that we have another guest who is just standing by. It's Dr. Fidelis Oshong. He is a political scientist. And without much ado, we're going to set the ball rolling with the first slot, the regular slot of the program, Press Review with Emanuela Vemnui. Emanuela?
The press week just ended in Cameroon was full of news stories that took readers to newsstands for information. Biya convenes regional elections on municipal updates. Then the political class boils with tongues wagging over irrational seats distribution on the Sun. The Cameroon Tribune, it is time for political maneuvers. The Herald Tribune brings to the fore midnight bosses warning for order to reign. In the eye of the Guardian Post, tough-talking Atanganji dares Kamto to disrupt regional elections. The Median writes, bazooka for bazooka, Atanganji versus Kamto eyeball to eyeball. To the Post-Weekender, Kamto Atanganji draw battle lines ahead of regional elections. Municipal Update simply writes, Atanganji warns Kamto. Then 78 CPDM supporters are sanctioned for speaking out against dictatorship on the Guardian Post. The paper further writes, Romeo Dika quits CPDM, predicts bleak future for Biya's regime. Before CPDM MPs, mayors call for constitutional amendment. On the Herald Tribune, as SDF announces boycott of regional elections on the Guardian Post. To the Post, SDF backs out as battle for regional council heightens. Landslide then leaves over 8,000 homeless in Lebialem Division, Southwest Region on the Guardian Post. Just when Biya through Atanganji assists Far North flood victims on the same paper. But to the scoop, Atanganji ignores deadly flood victims in Northwest, rushes to Far North with goodies. Just when farmers, business people scorn Atanganji's cutlass iron rods embargo on the Post-Weekender. The Anglophone crisis takes another twist with a Defense and Security Forces new operation, Bamenda Clean, on the Herald Tribune, as ban on circulation of motorbikes paralyzes Bamenda on the Guardian Post. The Post's newspaper writes, Amber military power torso sends hundreds fleeing out of Northwest. The Herald Tribune then investigates how teenagers are recruited as Amber fighters, with many confessing to be paid 1,500 francs weekly. The Voice Weekender writes, as U.S. Congress passes firm resolution on Anglophone crisis, calls for immediate ceasefire. Protesting CDC workers confront GM over land grabbing on the Post newspaper, before CDC brings out big guns in land grabbing on the Star newspaper. Then major national dialogue 1 year on, ground cover challenges evaluated on the horizon. PM says Biya committed to implement national dialogue recommendations on the Guardian Post before the same PM begs for peace in Northwest and Southwest regions on the Post newspaper. Fresh crises are then announced at Music Rights Corporation Sonacam as Culture Minister orders audit and election of new bureau. Newly recruited varsity lecturers then threaten nationwide strike over unpaid salaries just when a woman is beaten to death in the East region over co-wives missing underwear. Let's now end our press review with the story on the Guardian Post, wherein a Franciscan Catholic priest, Reverend Louis-Marie Fouet, in pre-trial detention in Konengi, has petitioned the head of state to cause his release because he is suffering from a rare disease. The priest has been in detention for over 2 years, 2 months now on grounds of fraud and money laundering. He is said to be part of the Mida affair that extorted money from so many Cameroonians and was shut down in 2018. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
We cannot wait to have you on our way again next Sunday. Manuela, thank you very much for that rich press review. We told you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have two topics. The first one that we're going to treat is the topic dealing with the sanctions that the CPDM ad hoc committee, disciplinary ad hoc committee, meted on so many of its members, not just supporters, because they are members with posts of responsibilities in the party. We will get the number when we get to the member of that ad hoc disciplinary committee. But let us just, how did you receive this news of what I call very hard sanctions on very important members of the ruling party?
Well, Kenyan, I'll beg to differ with your qualification of the sanctions as hard. I think it depends on who is looking at it. As to how I received it, it's a normal thing in the life. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's a normal action in the life of a political party that is structured and properly administered. Well, it could be of interest to people in Cameroon in particular, because the CPDM is the party in power, the party that is in government. And anything that they do would obviously be of interest to many people on the basis of that perspective, on the basis of the fact that they're the party in government. Okay. So, to me, it's normal. It's otherwise it's the private business of political party, but a political party that is running public affairs, and that is where it becomes interesting. Otherwise, it's just like another news event. Other parties do have disciplinary committees too.
Yes, Roland, you are used to reporting political events. You find the sanctions, there are so many of them, close to 100, normal, like Dewi says.
The CPDM party is the governing party of Cameroon, and it is the party which is leading in terms of the political landscape in Cameroon. Were it not of discipline, I'm not sure that the party would have maintained this position on the political landscape in Cameroon. The discipline meted on some members of the party is due to maintain order in the party who follow the party line and the basic text of the party. I'm not a supporter of the party, but that's the observation which I have personally. And it is true that the ad hoc committee's decision has left a lot of frustration to some members of the party, but at the same time it has also exposed some of the problems which are in the party. That's when you follow the people who are victims of the sanction and they tell you why the sanctions came up, you understand that there is a problem that the party really has to look into.
Thank you. Stephen, how did you report this story in the media?
Yeah, at the media we're not surprised by the convening of the disciplinary committee and by the sanctions. It is normal for every political party. It is not only in Cameroon, it's not only in the CPDM, it's everywhere. We hear about the ANC disciplining its members. So like every other political party, they could convene, they have the right to convene a discipline committee to sanction militants who contravene the rules and regulations of a party. Don't forget that a political party is an association, and every association has its rules and regulations that its members must comply with. For somebody whom I've been observing, President Paul Biya acts methodically and very slowly. When the day I heard that they had convened a disciplinary committee, I knew that something was really wrong. And for the journalist that I am, over the years, we have been reporting of noise being made around the CPDM, especially before during and after elections, where people contest the choices of candidates that the party projects for elections. I think this disciplinary committee was convened to serve as a deterrent for militants who may want to behave the same way ahead of the elections that are coming up, because I think the leaders of the hierarchy of the party will not want the same noise that has been always sanctioned the investiture process to come up again.
Thank you.
I was not surprised with the sanctions. And being a disciplinary committee, the sanctions, I will not say they were very hard. I expected to see many dismissals, but they were just...
there is a dismissal. There is one person dismissed, excluded from the party.
One observation that I want to make here is that if my reading is correct, it's like the Anglophones of the CPDM are exemplary in their behavior, because I saw no Anglophone among the list of people who were sanctioned.
That I can't make any comment on that. Prof, you've listened to them. They say it is normal, but I want to ask you first, have you had such sanctions involving such high-standing personalities of your party, and in this number, I think there should be 78 who are sanctioned, but the files were more than that. Have you had this before in the party?
Well, I know that first of all, I was honored and privileged to have been a member of the ad hoc disciplinary committee. And I know that in the past, like I think in 2013, there was a disciplinary committee that also issued sanctions. Perhaps the number of personalities that were sanctioned were not as many at that time as we have had it this time. But what makes the difference between the committee action this time and the last time was that in the last time several elections were in view. It's very normal that they took the decisions they took at that time. And with the present committee, apart from the regional elections, I mean the next elections are about 5 years away. But nevertheless, sanctions were taken, and as the other panelists have said, it's normal. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's normal that in every association of human beings, there have to be rules.
We are going to focus on how normal...
People must respect those rules.
We are going to focus on how normal that will be when we see the effect the sanctions have on the personalities involved, because some of them getting suspensions up to 36 months can actually be frustrating. We're going to come to that. Now, let us get from you, what were some of the offenses that led to these sanctions?
Well, generally the offenses range from those who refuse to obey the circular of the national president or the instructions of the Secretary General, to those who decided that they will use their popularity or powers to block the process or challenge the authority of the mandated personalities that were mandated by the Secretary General, or it went to the extent of touching on those who created disorder, total disorder in certain cases. And all of these various deviant forms of behavior were considered as forms of indiscipline as far as the party is concerned, and that is why if you notice that of the 78 persons that were sanctioned, the sanctions vary from just letters of observation, warnings or reprimands to temporary exclusions of various durations. And only one person...
Up to 36 months, that's 3 years.
Up to 3 years, yes. And only one person had a definitive
Prof,
rejection.
One person excluded for a party, you have always said, we listen to you, that's an assembling party. Yeah. Is one too many. Don't you see that
1 out of 78 that were sanctioned, don't forget 11 were acquitted. Well, they don't say acquitted, they said mis or cause. In other words, it's a sort of acquittal.
Okay.
You see? But one person out of that many is an example which could not be avoided, and it was indispensable. And statistically speaking, it does not in any way compromise the central principle of the CPDM, which is that it's a party that rallies everybody, whether you are whatever.
Okay.
It rallies people, and that yes, you can misbehave now, but if you are humble and honest enough and you submit yourself to the rules, obviously you learn something from the sanctions, because there is a pedagogic value to the sanctions.
Okay.
It's not meant to make you a bad person or a prisoner. It's meant to teach you something and for you to honestly, humbly come back.
We get that, yes. But some of them are sitting mayors, some of them are officials in the section, subsection, and other posts of responsibility of the party.
Yes.
What happens to these people when you are suspended from the party and you are elected in your constituency to represent the party? What happens now? Do those people still act in their positions on behalf of the party, or what happens? Yeah,
many people talk about this, but again, it's good for us to explain this, that political parties are private associations, as Steve said earlier. These are private associations of citizens who want to attain power through like-minded ways of thinking, ideologies, and so forth, and values. And when they attain power, the power they attain or they achieve is not a party power. It is a state power. Because the state, under its rules, allows for associations to be formed, associations of citizens who can, under the rules of democratic competition, win an election, and therefore by winning that election place their militants into positions of state power. Now, when the party acts as a party, such as the CPDM, it can punish, it can discipline its militants within the limits of the party itself. Now, when it applies to militants of that party who hold state functions or private functions, the party's rules, the party's authority does not extend to the domain of the state. There is a domain of the state, that is to say, councils, positions of mayor, municipal councillor, regional councillor, president of regional assembly, senator, parliamentarian, minister, and other positions are positions of state power. So it is the state that applies.
Where will they feel the pinch if they will continue to exercise their powers? Where will they actually feel that they've been punished?
They will feel the pinch within the party, because within the party they will know that they are sanctioned within the party, and even though they are performing state functions, unless the state decides to punish them.
Can that happen?
If the state decides to punish them, the state will not take permission from the party, because the state is above the party. We shouldn't forget, and the party is not a state party. Therefore, the state functions according to state laws and the constitution, and the party functions according to party rules. The party has taken its action according to its rules. Now, because the whole state functions, holding those state functions has to do with state laws, and are subjected to state laws. If they have not broken any state law, if they have not violated any state law, the state, of course, will not punish them.
Okay.
But the state will not ask the party to say, should we punish them? And the party cannot also ask the state to punish them, because the state is supreme, and the state is different from the party.
Yes.
You see, the state is the national interest, the party is the partisan interest.
Okay, you made it so clear, but tell me, when you listen to Prof, if you have the same reading or similar to me, these people will not feel so much, because they will continue to exercise their functions. Where exactly, what are the stakes? What are the stakes for the party or for them?
Well, I think that within our context, it's very, very difficult to distinguish between a party personality and a government personality. I can't remember if we have independent candidates in this country.
No, the laws do not give provision for that.
Which therefore means that the party has a very central role to play. And that's what I said at the beginning, that the CPDM is the party in power. the party in government, and what happens within that party is intrinsically linked to the operation of the government even. I can't, these are just what I call declarations that do not reflect the reality, because the reality on the ground is different.
So what's the reality?
Let me give an example. Let's say if this concerned a highly placed government official, or would they have, you see, and this is what makes their sanctions a little superficial. Some people had even observed that the sanctions looked at the persons, the people concerned. I cannot imagine that a member of government, a member of the Central Committee, a member of the political bureau is sanctioned, and he's in government and it would be business as usual, because the party has a very important role to play in this government. If it went up to the highest rounds of power within the party, what will happen?
Well, but he just said if the party sanctioning, the person will be serving the state.
The person will be serving the state, but how operational can they? They themselves say that the CPDM is like the think tank. It's the party that is supporting the government, and if that party is seen to be weakening its members in government, how can the results be positive and effective? When it is contradictory in my point of view.
Here, the stakes are very high, given that they have been sanctioned, but they continue to operate as Tewu is saying. So, what's your take on that?
Well, I think the Professor Ngole, member of the ad hoc committee, has drawn a line between the party and the state, which should be very, very clear. They are functioning now as personalities of the state, and they are no longer functioning as personalities of the party. That is very, very important. It goes to show that there is a clear line now, which is not seen in public, but which must be understood by the public, between the party in power and the state. There's a difference between the party in power
now,
and the state.
Before I get to you, Stephen, I'll take from that question, Prof, if there is a meeting or a rally of the party, will some of these people that concerns only the party be invited? Because it's for the party, they've been suspended.
No,
will they be invited?
They will not be invited because they are not. So they are under sanctions. They are not supposed to militate within, as far as the party is concerned. But if the state is carrying out a state activity by virtue of their holding that state office, they are bound to be involved and to participate, because they are duty bound. They were appointed to that office. But as far as the party is concerned,
yes, let us, since you say if a party organizes a ceremony, something, they will not be invited, can we have a ceremony that can be of the party and probably not of the state, where they will not attend, for example?
Yeah, for example, we are just about to have regional elections, and we'll carry out, for example, the party activity of selecting the candidates. Will soon be going down the next few hours to go select candidates in the various regional control committees and divisional reception and analysis committees. They are not supposed to be members of these committees, and even when that selection, after that selection is done, the party is supposed to send out campaign agents, campaign committees to the various divisional constituencies to go campaign. They are not going to be in this activity, and they are also not going to be candidates for any of the elective offices for these regional elections.
That is making it precisely this time. Stephen, when you look at it, you know, amongst ourselves, I call you Steve, that's why it slides onto the set. When you follow the discussion, what do you think are the major stakes of the sanctions? One on the people, as he is saying, and two on the party.
By my reckoning, I think somebody who is sanctioned by his party is automatically weakened, whichever way you want to look at it. Don't forget that it is the party that invested them to be elected to the office that they hold, which means that if they run into problems against the state, the party can no longer defend them. because the party has really lost confidence in them. Meanwhile, if that was not the case, the party would defend them before the state. So they have been weakened. They have been weakened not only before the state, they have been weakened in the face of their own militants, their own populations. Because if you are, say, a section president or you are a leader of a grassroots organ of the party and you are indisciplined, you don't expect, you are supposed to be a role model. When you become so indisciplined as to be sanctioned by the party, you lose face in front of the militants. So I think they have been weakened. The sanctions, whether they maintain their offices as mayors, as whatever, they have been weakened.
Yes, exactly.
In the eye of the state and in the eye of the militants of the party.
Exactly. Prof, there is still this problem. Some of these people who have been sanctioned claim that the grassroots were behind them and the party from the Central Committee imposed people on them. Sanctioning them doesn't it also weaken the party at grassroots, making those people feel divisive at that level?
Kilian, if you permit,
yes.
Before this quickly escapes my mind, one of the sanctioned members of the party,
yes,
actually people of his constituency came out to support him, which means they're in disagreement with the decision of the Central Committee at the higher ranks of the party. So they might see it as a continuation of the marginalization and imposing of a top-down approach. The people you have sanctioned are popular amongst those who, so what does it matter?
Yeah, we know, as you say, I mean, that is a mistake all of us make when we're in associations, especially political parties. We tend to comport ourselves as if what matters, and the only thing that matters, is our popularity. Our popularity with the grassroots and so forth and so on. But popularity by itself is not the only element or factor that makes a party credible, honorable, and successful in competing with other parties. There are other factors. If, because you think you're popular either because you are very rich or your personality, you have good character, you think that you can violate or disobey the rules of the party, you can disrespect the mandatory personality who is mandated by the party. Once you disrespect the person mandated by the party, you are disrespecting the hierarchy,
we agree.
The head. And once you do that because you think you're popular,
we
the
agree
popularity alone will not make the party.
We agree with that, Prof.
Yeah.
The question we're asking here is, we're in a democracy.
Yes.
And the word is that the person who is loved and followed by the grassroots should be the person to lead these people.
Indeed.
But what they are saying here is that the popular person who carries the grassroots feels frustrated with his people because another person who is not popular is imposed on that community.
Yes, and the tendency is that many people think they are popular, think that they are so popular that it doesn't, and nothing else matters, and that they can do whatever they want, including defying, violating rules, or disrespecting personalities. And by having the sanctions and through this disciplinary committee, it's a way of reminding all of us, everyone, including popular ones, rich ones, big ones, and small ones, that no matter who and what you are, no matter how popular you are, popularity alone is not what a party needs.
Okay.
A party needs discipline, respect, those good old values that make us a decent people and citizens. Because at the end of the day, if you are popular and you decide that because you are popular, you break the law, the laws of the party, it means that what you are saying is that even at the level of the state or even in your private life, you can afford to break laws or rules because you think you're popular. Is popularity alone what makes someone succeed? No.
Obviously.
And that's why, in a way, there's pedagogy in this thing. The party believes that through this sort of disciplinary sanctions, it's a school. Everybody should learn that no matter how rich or popular we are, no matter how good a character we may have, no matter how connected we may be, we must know that a party is an organization. And an association means, by definition, respect for hierarchy, respect for people, and sensitivity to others, being of decorum. In other words, good old values we learned in primary school to make you a good citizen. Otherwise, your popularity can infect or can be contagious or infectious to the party. Because you think that you are so popular that's all that matters. But popularity alone is just one factor in the life in the functioning of an association or an organization.
Thank you.
It's a school.
Yes, briefly.
On this issue, I think the party is a bit segregative. I recall a situation where in one of the sections of the party in the Southwest, against the circular of the Secretary General of the party, the section hierarchy decided that office holders will not run for elective office. There was an official office holder who wanted to be section president of the party, and they blocked him. This was against the statutes of the party. It was against the circular of the party, because in that same locality, you had other people who were office holders who were section president, but he was blocked. And nobody called these people of the hierarchy of the party to
sanction.
Yes.
Okay, Theo, you had something. We're going to move out of the topic after you.
I thought the CPDM, from its name, is a movement. A movement is mass. But it looks like this is a party of elite.
No,
because from what Prof is saying, they don't care about what the masses think. Take, for example, your ad hoc committee has sanctioned somebody, and the next day, his people are supporting him. Yeah. So you are at variant with the people that you claim your party support.
That's
Prof.
Pedagogy council.
Yeah, okay.
Has a duty to be pedagogic.
I understand.
We have to teach everybody.
But what I'm saying is that the party does not care about what the masses think.
No, it does care. It does care, because at the end of the day, see, you don't want, when you have a mass, the mass does not mean that we should be as if we're in a jungle. The mass has to be educated. That's why there's an academy of which I happen to be privileged to be the coordinator. Our job is to educate ourselves and each other. Because at the end of the day, you can have a mass, but that mass does not have the right, because of the weight of its numbers, to, for example, go and insult somebody, break a law, or just do anything, just because they are the mass.
This is completely different from what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that even after you are sanctioned, you sanction somebody, somebody whom you consider indisciplined, who is not credible to the eyes of the Central Committee and the ad hoc committee, Disciplinary Committee. But his people think that he is that person, and that is why even after your sanctions, they are against it, which therefore means that you are a party that doesn't care.
No, we do care. That's why we have what that does is that we as a party, we have a duty now to go and educate, give political education to our masses, that mass that you're talking about, because we can never afford to be a party where, because we think we are the mass, we should allow the mass just to do anything, come to CRTV because they don't like your editorial line or something, and do something, and they will say, Okay. No, we don't want to be that sort of party.
We are going to
a party of reasonable, responsible people.
I think making a point, because the head of state said some time ago, the president of the party said that the party of the common man. It's a party for the grassroots. Indeed. But the grassroots continues to be undermined in the CPDM.
No, where the grassroots feels we have a duty when we think the grassroots. We have to educate them.
The running of the CPDM reflects in the way the country is run. If you see the agitations even within the country, it is an extension of
what is happening within
the
because
thank you. We got that, but we're also concluding that the CPDM is bringing order to its party.
It is a democracy only by name.
We have another topic. We have another topic, Prof. You have something to do elsewhere. The next topic you will not be part of it. We're going to bring in some other person. We promise you that we are going to discuss two topics. The next topic now is decentralization. Regional elections. Is it an ultimate end to the decentralization process? Is it going to solve all these problems? We're going to discuss that, but before we do that, get this joint report done for us by Beneza Akanga and Constantine Bom.
The Constitution of January 18, 1996 created new institutions in the Republic of Cameroon, notably the Senate, the Constitutional Council, and regional councils. Part 10, Article 55 of the Constitution states that regional and local authorities of the Republic shall comprise regions and councils. Out of the new institutions created, The Senate and Constitutional Council have been put in place. What is remaining are the regional councils.
It is very important that all the institutions so provided for in that constitution be put in place, and if they don't work well, then people can start asking for a change.
More importantly, the regional councils will complete the process of decentralization.
With the putting in place of these regional houses, we think that it's going to enhance the decentralization process, and power and responsibilities will go closer to the people. The people will be the one to select those who sit in the regional houses, and if those sitting there do not work well, the same people will remove them.
On the whole, the holding of regional council elections on December 6, 2020 will complete the process of setting up the institutions created in the 1996 Constitution.
Parliament adopted and the President of the Republic promulgated on December 24, 2019 the law to institute the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities. The law marks a decisive turning point in the steering of the country's decentralization process. All the steps underway for regional elections are seen as a sure way to fast-track and deepen the process.
Economically, we would say the role of the region is to promote economic development and social progress. Point number 2, from a political perspective, we can say that the upcoming regional elections are going to pave the way for another important and emblematic solution to the ongoing crisis in the Northwest and Southwest.
Decentralization is a new legal framework and a decisive milestone where regional councils play Act 2 of the process.
The powers have been clearly divided. So economically speaking, we can say that the region is midway between the local council and the state.
The process promotes local development and better service delivery to the population and creates new actors known as local authorities. They are at the center of the challenge to promote regional development and the emergence of Cameroon.
You are welcome back, and we welcome you back with a new face on the set, Dr. Uchong Fidelis, a political scientist who is going to tell us what we know about regional elections coming up. Is it going to be the final solution to the headaches and toothaches of decentralization that we have had in the country? Welcome to the program, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Killian. It's a pleasure for me to be here this Sunday afternoon and to take part in this very important program. I'm hopeful that we're going to share ideas that will shed a lot of light on the issue of decentralization and particularly regional elections.
Yes, the regional elections will follow from the two reports at different levels. Is the last of the institutions put in place by the 1996 Constitution, repealed and amended, and also amended in 2008 after the Senate, after the Constitutional Council. Can we say that we are moving, that the regional elections is going to, the elections are going to bring the solution that we needed to start?
Yes, thank you very much. I want to say that regional elections are a highly welcome opportunity. A highly welcome opportunity because in the context of decentralization, we are expecting that powers will be transferred from the center to the periphery territorial collectivities. And that actually means that the regional councils, just like the local councils, will have the responsibility to conceive their projects based on the needs of their environment or their municipalities. And after conceiving these projects, they will have to receive funding from the state in order to be able to execute this project. That actually means that in the context of decentralization, the regional councils and the local councils, the municipal councils, will be running their own affairs with that intervention from the central government. That's actually what it means. And we have been having a problem. You know, most of the problems we have in Cameroon today are associated to centralization. Cameroon has been a centralized state right from independence till this moment. And we seem to be thinking that the crisis, the problems of underdevelopment, the crisis of democracy are all...
We are told that Cameroon is a decentralized state that has been that decentralization has been gradually put in place. The law says it's a decentralized state.
Yes, the constitution talks about a decentralized unitary state.
Yeah, decentralized, that's what
that is okay. I also want to accept that decentralization is not something that is done overnight. It actually has to be progressive. You know, for a country that has existed mostly on centralization, to move to decentralization of power is not an easy task. So the progressive movement, it's a good idea.
Yes, as a political scientist, we followed from that report with an official from the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development saying that the regional councillors, called regional councils, constitute a middle way between the mayors, the councils, and government. What does that mean?
Yeah, this actually means that the regional councils, like I said before, will be able to coordinate the activities of the regions. They are taking care of the interests of the region in terms of socio-economic development of the regions. And they have to do it, they cannot do it in isolation. They do it in collaboration with the state. And since the local councils are part of the region, we consider they are a kind of midway between the state and the local councils. But let me add here that what is important, like you said, regional councils, the ultimate aim. What is important here is not the idea of regional councils. We should not be excited about that. What is more important is applicability, because it's also a problem of theory and practice. Are we going to do what we say we are going to do? That's where the challenge is. Because saying that there will be council elections, and let me say that it's a core principle, because it's all in the context of democracy. It's a core principle of democracy, which is that elections need to be fair and transparent. If we ensure that this happens, that elections are fair, they are transparent, they respect the rules, then that will be okay. But we are used to a situation, maybe in Cameroon, in particular, many other African countries, where elections are highly considered to be fair and transparent. So the idea is, if we organize fair and transparent elections, they can be expecting so much from the regional council elections.
Okay, we made Stephen, I just ask you, could it be an ultimate end? Will it bring what has been highly debated and many people have been gnashing their teeth?
I should say it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it will put an end to the agitation that is going on. If I have read and understood the law on decentralization very well, I think the powers devolved to the decentralized authorities is still very, very small, very limited, and the central authority still has a very firm grip on the situation.
That's why we're asking, with the regional councillors, will this power not be devolved to them? That's why we're asking.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that enough powers have not been dissolved. They don't have enough powers. They still work under the authority of appointed officials from the central authority. Don't forget that the governor is still there, or is overbearing over all what happens in the regions.
For now.
Yes, the governor is still there. The NGOs are still there, who are very overbearing. Take for instance, to prove to you that the powers are not quite there. Let's take the case of the Bakassi Peninsula. The government over the years has invested tens of billions to develop Bakassi. If you go to Bakassi, you see virtually nothing for the billions that is on record that has been invested there. So will the government now... excuse me, will the government now...
You will see something maybe not to the point you expect.
No, will the government now transfer these billions to the local authority, the authority concerned to develop Bakassi. Because when you go across to Nigeria, you see what the local government in Nigeria, in Cross River State, is doing in Bakassi. It mocks all what we are doing here in Cameroon. We only hear figures, but we don't see anything being done on this. So when the government selects people from who have never stepped their leg in the area to manage projects in Bakassi, who don't have any interest in Bakassi, to go. I'm using Bakassi just as one example.
He is talking about transparency. What if government sends people there and they are transparent, like he was just saying? Will that not? That's why we are asking. With these regional elections, if they happen the way Dr. Uchong is saying, that the elections take place in a transparent manner, it means what we are talking about will be taken care of. And we are asking, should that happen, will these regional elections be the ultimate end, bring the solution to this?
The bottom line here is accountability. Who holds people accountable for what they were supposed to do? When you leave it to the central authority, it is so open. When you transfer it to a localized environment, people can easily be held accountable for what they failed to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Roland, Stephen is still holding to what is happening now. But we are moving forward. That with the regional councils put in place and administrative and financial autonomy given to them, because that's what the law says, Section 55, Sub 2 of the Constitution states that regional and local authorities shall have administrative and financial autonomy and shall be freely administered by elected councils.
That is certainly what is going to happen when the elections will take place on the 6th of December. Power will be devolved from the central authority in Yaoundé now to the local peripheries. You know, the complaint came as a result of the highly centralized model of governance which is in Yaoundé. And so people who are in the countryside or in the peripheries, they have always been complaining about this hyper-centralized model of governance in Yaoundé. And we're looking for a way of having a say in the management of their own localities or in the management of their own issues. And that is why the state has decided to bring in now the election of regional councillors. Regional councillors now will mean that the people who elect, even though it's an indirect election, but the people who will be elected will be accountable, represent the regions where they'll be elected into. We'll take a simple example. If, for example, you ask me to see my member of parliament, he will tell me that he's not a member of parliament for my area, but he's a member of parliament for the Republic of Cameroon. If you ask me to see my senator, that will be a similar reply that he's going to give to me. But if I approach a councillor from my area, I know that he is responsible for the management of my area. So I see in him power devolved from the central authority to the local authority, and he being accountable directly to the actions of my area.
Okay, thank you for that.
And also I see into that, I don't know whether I will come to it, I see into that the implementation of some of the recommendations taken at the major national dialogue. Remember that during the major national dialogue, one of the issues that was raised was decentralization.
Exactly, there was a committee.
A whole commission was created to cater for decentralization.
Yes.
And after the major national dialogue, President Paul Biya, or the government, sent to the National Assembly a bill which came out now as a law on the 24th of December 2019 on local and regional authorities in the country. And that law has a lot of reply to some of the problems, pertinent problems presented by some people. So I see in the upcoming regional elections the refashioning of the structure of the state of Cameroon.
Dewi, how do you read this? Are we going to move away from the toothaches and headaches of decentralization, some of the problems that we have, because as Stephen has said, there has been a lot of centralization of power. Now with the devolution of power, decentralized competences, will you see that is going to end so much of what we have, including even the crisis, because that's what the official of the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development said in the report that we watched?
Killian, I think we should avoid being over-optimistic. We should be cautiously optimistic, because if we think that regional elections will be the magic wand to our decentralization, which is to me a process, because if it wasn't a process, they wouldn't be called a decentralization. Because when you describe Cameroon as a decentralized unitary state, it therefore means that decentralization as a process has come to an end, and so Cameroon is now decentralized. But I think that's not the case, and that is why I say we must be very cautious in how we see the regional councils.
So how should we see
My fear is that these regional councils should not be another budget-consuming institution which is not having an impact on the lives of the people. That's what some people have said about the Senate. Some people hardly see what contribution that is the Senate as an institution has brought to our democratization, other than being a budget-consuming institution. That is one.
Before you go ahead, when you look at the function of the Senate is to make laws, pass laws, control as part of national of Parliament, control government action. Are they doing that before you go into such declaration?
At times, the role of control becomes more of a bottleneck in the execution of processes and projects. It becomes it slows down. Control in itself is not bad, but let us talk about this decentralization, which is being seen through the regional councils. To me, an institution is also important, and it derives its importance from the people that constitute that institution. If the regional councils, like we have seen in the past, will be another institution where people will be given positions of favor, where people who are retired from active life are being sent, where friends who need positions should be compensated, then I'm afraid it will be just the same story.
Yes, Doctor?
We need to be very cautious as to who, because people are already, you can see, papers have been writing, people are already positioning themselves.
Which is normal.
Yes, but so when I'm saying this is an institution that should not be put in place, taking into consideration giving positions to people, looking at people who have retired from active life to have something to be doing, a position where political friends are compensated. Otherwise, the institution will fail.
Before I get to Dr. Uchong to answer that, I think even in America we could ask the democracy. When the government comes in, they come in with their own people and they reward people who are working. You're not getting my point.
When you talk of regional, it is essentially local. And here, it is the interest of the local people that is at stake. Therefore, political parties here may not matter, but when you have political parties imposing candidates, not imposing, putting candidates that may not necessarily be those that the people of the regions would have wanted, that's where the problem begins.
That point is gotten. Just to welcome Elvis Teke. Elvis, good day.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll get to you in 1 minute. There's a point that was being developed there by Tewi talking about the people. That it depends on the people who will come in for regional elections, who are the constituent part of the categories of people who will be involved in regional.
Yeah, let me start by saying that we should not be acting in Cameroon as if we fabricate our own kind of decentralization, right? Now, the decentralization goes with some expectations. Like I said earlier, power is supposed to be transferred. That's autonomy in terms of financial autonomy, administrative autonomy, and all of that. If that is effectively done, then we can be expecting some positive development. If that is effectively, I want to underline the word effectively.
Okay, so
if that is done, then it's going to give us some hope. Then we can be counting on it for the changes we are expecting. Now, this is the point, because once power is effectively decentralized, we expect that the regional representatives, the councillors, will do what? Conceive projects and then execute them to ensure socio-economic development. But there are challenges. The challenges, like some of the panelists are invoking, come from the fact that there seems to be a kind of culture of mistrust between the people and the government. I mean, that the people seem not to be believing that the government is sincere about transferring power. And this can be can be explained by the fact that the laws on decentralization were put in place since 1996, and more than 20 years after, it is now that the government is talking about.
What does it matter that today we have?
That this is the point. My point is, when you look at this, more than 20 years, and the government seems to be acting under pressure to.
Now, I ask you the question: the people.
Yes.
We have the houses of chiefs. We have the assembly.
The regional assembly.
Yes. We have delegates. Those delegates are Cameroonians.
They are,
so,
of course.
I think the unfortunate thing should be the electoral college of the election. It is an indirect.
Yes.
It's an indirect election, meaning that it's not coming directly from the people.
Yes.
They'll be elected by municipal councillors. But one issue has been running on the table in the autonomy, which is expected to be handed to the regions, which is financial autonomy.
Financial.
I want to emphasize on financial autonomy, which is in Cameroon still very, very small. The amount of money given by the government to the local authorities in the country is just 10% of the state budget.
For now.
In other countries where regionalization is effective, that budget is raised to at least 40% for effective financial autonomy to see the viability and the execution of those projects in the different regions.
Thank you very much. Our time is running out, and we have Teke Elvis here with contributions from so many of you who have been following the program, who even sometimes had a topic before, and you send in your reactions. Can we have some of the reactions that you got for us?
Yes, Kilian, quite a good number of reactions. Though we might not be able to read all, but we're going to acknowledge those who have sent. We begin straight away with Ivor Sangu, who says the CPDM is a religion where those who have contrary views and doctrines are not generally accepted. Emmanuel Chukwe Bikolo, who says regional election is a good step forward in Cameroon, but the timing and organizational structure of the said election leave much to be desired, solving the Anglophone problem before scheduling election and allowing everyone in their respective region to participate freely in choosing their respective leaders who would have given more credit for Cameroon's democracy. And Prince Mutapene says it's wrong timing for the regional election at this period. We are expecting that it would have been better to resolve the Anglophone crisis first through genuine dialogue. And Mary Kilachin says going for election is very good, but how certain are we that some areas are going to take part in the elections? And she's suggesting that the 8 regions should go in first, while the elections were organized for a later date.
Let's take the last one.
Northwest and Southwest.
Let's take the last one.
And Keneto 1 Micah says regional elections, a more status quo. Will conclude with Abbas Zensop, who says, I hope the elite from Yaoundé will not descend to hijack the regional councils. We expect development-motivated individuals and not power mongers at the councils.
Thank you very much for bringing those contributions from our viewers to the set, Elvis Teke. We look forward to having you next Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, watching us in Cameroon and around the world, we had as panelists on today's edition of the program, Professor Elvis Ngolengole, member of the CPDM Ad Hoc Disciplinary Committee. We had Dr. Fidelis Ochong, a political scientist, Tewi Lambif, editorialist in CRTV. Stephen Ojong is the publisher of the Median newspaper, and Roland Akon, who is a journalist with Vision Card. Gentlemen, we are pleased to have had you on the program today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's with that we come to the end of today's edition of Press Hour. Thank you very much for giving us your time. If you tune in halfway into the program, you can watch it. We stream it live on CRTV Web, Facebook. You can watch that for a rebroadcast. You have that tomorrow by 3 p.m. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
Because of the crisis, my business doesn't work anymore.
Sans boulot, payer mon loyer devient très compliqué.
Avec la rentrée des enfants, je ne sais pas comment faire.
Vraiment, comment rebondir?
Voilà, Igo Beta. MTN fait 10 millionnaires chaque semaine jusqu'au 30 septembre.
Ah bon? How I fit do?
C'est simple, atteins ton objectif pour saisir ta chance de gagner.
Mon objectif?
Oui, tape étoile 160 dièse pour savoir. Quand tu l'atteins, gagne jusqu'à 100 000 francs CFA de crédit de communication directe. MTN à vos côtés pour rebondir.
I'm obsessed with you, Maria. Unexpressed love can turn into obsession. Yes, sometimes it can.
How could you? How could you take advantage of my drunken state?
Whenever the cool instinct of extending a hand grasps you, kill it.
Thank you all for your growing interest in African designs. Samba is the real deal.
The big English way they talk since I know you.
You no longer work here.
Where?